let us be still together and strive to either do the you, or that Shiva place, toward the day that this Shiva Shakti, the dynamic and static aspects of God, are so alive, so quickened within your consciousness, that you can become an instrument where all you do is you live for what the divine wants. And the divine's very practical, much more practical than we are. Don't have to worry about it. But the you, or the Shiva place, until you can become a pure instrument wherein the Shiva and Shakti play through you, and wherein you become a divine instrument for furthering creation. We play. Okay, dear ones, how beautiful it is to be together with you like this. We're going to go into some exciting subject fields again tonight. I hope you get the point that Spirit is omnipotent. It's out of the omnipotence of Spirit that we can do anything. And if you're a devotee, Spirit is your ally, or you are an instrument of Spirit. And everything in the world tries to tell you it's not so, because it doesn't seem visibly the truth. And time and again in our life, we have to deny that Spirit could act here or Spirit could act omnipotently, yet that is the truth. And if you get so you're honestly dealing with your karmas, you're honestly opening yourself to the omnipotent Spirit, which would actually like to work for you and through you, and bring about a further manifestation. This creates guilt on the part of some devotees. They feel, well, I must really be goofing up because Spirit's sure not doing anything very significant through me. And if you just practice karma yoga, Spirit will start to do something significant through you. Just don't be such a pipsqueak, and don't be such a bad mouther of the Spirit. The point is, Spirit is your true nature, it's omnipotent, it's your ally. And through karma yoga, you realize that Spirit is even the doer. And through being honest and sincere with Spirit, it transforms your life and your awareness of your being, such that Spirit, this wondrous, loving, comforting, joyous reality and realm, pervades your daily life and makes of it a heavenly thing. Karma yoga is having the guts to face the duties of your life with the right attitude, such that God can even come into your daily life and your daily tasks and bring about divine attributes, divine expression. I guess the point is that through karma yoga, one can consciously live in the divine, whatever you want to call it, the ocean of conscious cosmic energy expressing in all forms, whatever. You get so you can consciously live in God through karma yoga. And very often karma yoga is Beautiful because we're almost all in our lives of necessity. We go out there and we work because of our particular generated karmas. And then if we get so we've dealt with those, very likely God will want to keep that body, that instrument out there working. Very, very likely. In fact, Krishna said once, he said, I can't quit work myself. I've fulfilled all my karmas, but if I quit, they'll all look at me and say, well, even Krishna's not working, so why should I? So I keep working, Krishna said. Freedom is a state of consciousness with which you work. It seems part of being alive to have to work. And you can rebel against it as long as you want, or you can just get in there and do it and transform that work. Very hard not to get involved in work. And if you don't work, you get forced to work. And you end up like paying back double. You have to pay interest. It's an amazing thing. Work seems a part of life. The attitude toward the work regarding expectation, who the doer is, though, makes all the difference in the world. So Karma Yoga enables one to live in God, and the benefit of Karma Yoga is what it can do to other areas of our spiritual practice called sadhana as well. But a person who can live in God knows that this is a spiritual world and that he or she is a spiritual being. This degree of realization is really essential to understand the most recent message of the great ones. For example, Sri Ramakrishna, who lived in the last century, he said, to perceive it correctly, you see, this is a spiritual world and that you are a spiritual being. And you've got to know that in order to do the higher work on the spiritual path in this life. And that's why we, of course, started the Spiritual World Society, to promote the realization, the consciousness that this is a spiritual world as revealed to man over the past 100 years. Now, Karma Yoga, the concepts and precepts of Karma Yoga, the attitude of Karma Yoga, can apply to all the other yogas in a beautiful way. For example, in Hatha Yoga, the idea is Hatha Yoga will always be fresh and beautiful. Hatha Yoga does not get repetitious if you do it with a Karma Yoga point of view. In fact, no work can get dull or repetitious if you do it from a Karma Yoga perspective. There's always a value realized in everything you practice. But I would like you, I know some of you have full tummies, so I want you to go easy, but I want you to feel, why don't you do first the way you normally do? Say a full yoga breath, but if you have eaten like around 6 or 6:30, just go easy. Don't do the full yoga breath. Do just a stretch with some breathing. So just do a normal one, the way you normally do it. Only you know how you normally do it. So just stand and do a half full yoga breath, or whatever percentage relates to your digestive process. And start whenever you want. Okay, pause. Pause after the first one. Now the next thing to do is mentally chant you, feeling that this divine self dwells inside you and around you. And when you get so you can feel you are in me, or you express as me, something like that, then do it again, and you should notice a difference like night and day. You in me. That you in me can do this pose with greater and greater perfection, greater and greater benefit. Feel that the you in me now does this. A different focal point, different viewpoint for the posture. And this is the one who should be doing your postures, and this is the one who can really make marked progress in the postures. All right, please be seated. In Raja Yoga, the same thing. If you can get the feeling that not I am doing Raja Yoga, because when you say I, you take into account your pride, your limitations, your sorrows, all of these things when you say I. And that's such a hard, encased I. It's so hard then to expand or to experience deep spiritual benefit because of all of the intensity you've put into I. Try a Yoni Mudra. Now, Yoni Mudra, again, will have to be done lightly in view of your digestion. Makes me burp just to think about it. We're just going to simply do a practice where we inhale, we close the eyes, the ear flaps, the nose, the edges of the lips, while we hold the breath gently. Well, I'm just showing you. Now, you can't see much if you got all that going. Then exhale and feel that the energy is going back down the spine. You inhale, feel it coming up, gathering. You try to look into your forehead, see more deeply the spiritual centers. This is a typical higher Raja Yoga practice. We're going to do it once or twice, feeling that this you, this divine you within us is doing it. And it's much more effective usually. Okay, so the idea is just a normal deep breath. Do a normal deep breath. Not too deep. Okay. Now, on the next one, you inhale, feeling that your being is coming up the spine into the forehead, and you close the eyes, the ear flaps, the nose flaps, and the lip flaps, like so. And you just enjoy viewing into this area in the forehead. The inner you gets a chance to focalize consciousness in the forehead. Take your time with it. Do 2 of them, just to get the hang of it. So in this practice, kind of a sweetness and a power and a deeper meaning come into the Yoni Mudra as a result of just practicing it that way. I'll teach Yoni Mudra sometime down the line. And, I was just giving it as an example tonight. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to practice it regularly, and you shouldn't unless you have more information on it or unless I've taught it to you before. Now, in Jnana Yoga, instead of I am trying to discriminate, the idea becomes you view life and do it with the feeling that God through myself discriminates. Yourself in me is discriminating. And there's not too much I can say about that because Jnana Yoga is quite a mental trip. But the idea be yourself through me, not myself. In other words, very often you go in to try to understand something. I am trying to understand this is the feeling. I am trying to understand. The wrong person's trying to understand. The divine self in you already knows and is prepared to reveal it to the I. But the I, who doesn't know, is trying to understand, very often is emphasizing the I so much, it's too thick, too intense, and prevents the realization from dawning on that hard-cased, encrusted I. So in this one, in Jnana Yoga, why don't you think about something that you haven't been able to understand right now? You haven't been able to understand something, maybe. Now, instead of trying to feel that you are going to understand, feel that the higher self within you already understands, and you're going to go in there and let it be revealed. The self, or the divine self, or this thing that you called I, call it you, the divine you. Go there with the idea it's going to reveal instead of you are going to wrest some kind of difficult understanding from some difficult maneuver. Try that now for the next few minutes. Okay. Just makes the effort seem to be much easier. Gives you a certain advantage because your soul gets a better chance. How many found that that was a much easier way to look at things, much easier way to discriminate? Okay, it is. Okay, so you might try it that way with the help of Karma Yoga. Next, in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is a yoga of worshiping God, the yoga through the emotions of the little finite devotee, bringing the Lord into his life. And this is probably the sweetest way of all, Bhakti Yoga, because you start from the beginning. You don't have to be all that high to begin with and whatnot. But Bhakti Yoga, unless one is consciously receiving God's grace and help, very often the Bhakti Yogas are the lousiest workers. And a Bhakti Yoga should be the best Karma Yogi. A Bhakti Yoga should be the best at serving the Lord. He should consider everything that he's doing service for the Lord. But no, just like people very often want to cheat in their life. They don't want to work hard. They don't want to take that extra effort or whatnot. The ungenuine bhakta cheats God, doesn't give God flat out effort, doesn't give God the best, doesn't give God attention, doesn't give God effort. And as a result, the bhakta thinks he's doing fine, he's going backward, doing lousy. So it's important to take the benefits of Karma Yoga and consider them in the light of Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, either the ego self is making the effort to surrender. God, I am worshiping you toward the day I may surrender to you. God, I've got to surrender to you. I've got to give myself to you. Or one has surrendered, and the surrendered self is worshiping God. After you've made the effort to surrender to the Lord, and definitely feel surrendered in the Lord, then the surrendered self, the divine devotee, begins to worship. And God accepts both those forms. He accepts the ego self's offering and said, yes, I will help you so you can surrender to me. And he also accepts the surrendered self's worship. And of course, the highest is the surrendered self's worship. But nevertheless, the idea of the bhakta worshiping is to serve God and be transformed, not to throw God a few bones now and then. So what's happening now is I would like to have us try to either sense that our ego self is worshiping God, in form or formless, as you wish, or feel that the inner self, if you can clearly sense it, the divine in you is worshiping the divine in a picture or in the absolute or whatever. The divine is worshiping the divine. Little divine man God worshiping God man or something like that. During this time, I would like you or one of your pujarinis to do a puja. And during this puja, as we sing and make these offerings, I would like you to feel that you are offering arati, worship or weaving of light, from your heart, or if you prefer, from your mind. But for example, one of the nice things you can do is wave your hand like this, feeling that you're stirring up the emotion in your heart and that you're waving your hand like this, just as you sing, that intensely you're offering your heart's love into the concept you have with your eyes closed, into the concept of the divine, your concept of the divine. Feel that you're weaving your heart's love more and more intensely to make that offering. Strive to feel either I am doing this or the divine self in me is doing this. And maybe switch back and forth. You'll get more and more able to do that. The thing is, there should be a feeling of transformation from doing puja, not a feeling of having observed a dry ritual. That's too bad. So, during this time, there will be many offerings made of flowers and candles and incense and various things. If you want to look at it from time to time to help enhance your ability to make offering, puja, or worship in your heart, fine. But the idea is to strive to either offer ego sense to the divine so that it may be surrendered to the divine, or offer your surrendered self into a higher and higher relationship of love. Either way. So we'll have some nice types of puja sounds while we have the puja. We could dim the lights a little bit, stand and stretch if you'd like before we do this, but this is practicing karma aspect of Bhakti Yoga.
I have made thee most of my life. I have made thee most of my life. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Still I see the path through thy mercy. Still I see the path through thy mercy. I have made thee star of my life. I have made thee star of my life. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Still I see the path through thy mercy. Still I see the path through thy mercy. I have made thee star of my life. I have made thee star of my life. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Still I see the path through thy mercy. Still I see the path through thy mercy. I have made thee star of my life. I have made thee star of my life. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone. Still I see the path through thy mercy. 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 Still I see the path through thy mercy.
Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. River of grace now surrounding the soul. Loving the Lord is all I know. Loving the Lord is all I know. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. River of grace now surrounding the soul. Loving the Lord is all I know. Loving the Lord is all I know. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. River of grace now surrounding the soul. Loving the Lord is all I know. Loving the Lord is all I know. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. River of grace now surrounding the soul. Loving the Lord is all I know. Loving the Lord is all I know. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. Chant the name of God within the heart. The smile of his ecstasy is streaming down. peace now surrounding the soul. Loving the Lord is all I know. 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 Loving the Lord is all I know.
Very nice. The main thing is to let the bhakti grow. Release your limited expectations of that job. Very often, the person has a job, they expect something from it, they're miserable if they don't get it. They're always putting restrictions on what they can receive from their job. This is a fascinating thing because very often your own concept of your job is wrong. And it's contrived by the desire mind or the limited thinking mind. It's wrong. So work while releasing your expectations and your dreads about the job, and just pay attention to the work. Very likely, if it's not your dharma to be there, you're going to get a promotion as a result of it, or you're going to get to go to a better job, or the job will suddenly change its whole nature and be a better job for you. It'll make itself a better job. I mean, like, I couldn't see from some of the things I was doing a lot of point I mean, I wanted to write plays. I ended up having to be a newspaper reporter and copy editor for 2 years. I couldn't really see the point in it. It wasn't hard, but it was extremely meaningful later on down the line. But at the time, didn't have any meaning. So it is with other avenues. In your job, stop limiting your expectations about it. Just release them. Do the job. Work hard and well, with truth and sincerity. Be open. God's quite capable. If you're called to lead the White House or whatever it is that's in your Dharma, you'll get accelerated on your Dharma pathway if you'll just start doing a good job and not have a motive of, I want to be elsewhere while I'm doing this, or I can't see any hope of this. If your motive while you do the job is lousy, then you're going to have to keep working till your motive is better at that particular job, which seems to be a limitation to you. A job is to teach you various things, but above all, it's to deal with your motive in life, your motive in your relationship with one another and with the universe. So a karma yogi looks upon the job as a chance to work for God, and that since it's the best available job, focuses on it and waits on the Lord. The Lord will tell him, it's time for you to move on, or it's time for you to change, or it's time for the job to change, or various. So the next 2 points I've gotten into in the job, feel that you're working mainly for God. God's your boss. And feel that you're working for him. You give him an honest day's work. Even if the pay is lousy and the boss doesn't seem to be at all cooperative or nice, feel you're working for God until God provides the next opportunity. If there's something there that God wants you to know, that's why he's hired you in that particular capacity. Now, it could be you're working for God to just tell the guy where to go, because suppose you're going to work for this job and you're told to violate truth or violate yourself or violate others. If you've learned a lot over past lives, you say, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's the end of your job. If it's a strong violation, if it's just impractical for you to be there, you shouldn't go there and allow somebody else to encourage you to prostitute your values. But generally, out there in this world, especially what we've heard about the tremendous shortage of employable people, very good possibility there. One can find various jobs in which one could find not only that he's working for God, but improving, making himself a more adequate instrument for further interrelationship with the Lord down the line, whoever the Lord is to you. So, doing karma yoga, open up, release your limited expectations, work for God until that blissful day when God works for you. When the divine just takes on, through love, it just takes on all your cares. And it's just obvious that God is working through you, that God has taken on your burdens, and God is striving to support you and your family or whatever. Work for him until he works for you. Then something happens after that. Once God starts working for you, you move into the divine play. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Okay. Next thing.